Getting this connection. Hi,
Hey,
Chrystal.
Chrystal.
Hey y'all.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
That's good. That's good. So it looks like we're getting people coming on in here. We see Pretty Vicky. Hey, girl.
Oh,
So
Victoria.
we want to go ahead and first just thank you before we even get started. Thank you, Chrystal, for taking time out of your super, super busy schedule and day to come on our live. You're actually our first guest on the Marriage Ministry Medicine Show. Clap it up for us. Clap it up. Clap it up. Clap it up. So what we're going to go ahead and do.
Hold on, y'all. I need to put my
Go
phone
ahead.
on Do Not Disturb.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. All right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we'll just have you go ahead and introduce yourself so that people can get to know you.
Okay. Well, my name is Chrystal. I am a native of Houston, Texas, also a proud graduate of Howard University. I have been a nurse, right? HU. I've been a nurse. Wow. So I graduated in 2012. So I've been a nurse going on 8 years now. And after I graduated nursing school, I moved back home to Houston and I worked as a nurse in different areas, different specialties, but my primary background is in cardiovascular nursing or medicine, med surgical nursing, and also advanced heart failure. So that's pretty much my background: telemetry, ICU, step down. But I want to say fall of 2018 is when I was just like, you know what? I love Houston. I have a great job, great family, great friends, but I really wanted something different. And I was like, okay, where should I go? And I loved New York. I always visit. I have a lot of friends here, a lot of friends from college here. And so I was like, you know what? I think that's what my first city is going to be on this travel nursing journey. So moved to New York, took a 3-month assignment, and basically I was just like, yeah, I don't want to leave yet. So
Okay.
that's pretty much what brought me here to New York, and I've been here since then.
Perfect.
So, Chrystal, so we know that you're on the front line. We know that New York has been hit pretty hard with COVID-19. So, can you just walk us through what it is on an average day, what it's like being a nurse in New York at this time in history?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, there is no normal or average day for me right now. It is extremely unpredictable. It's extremely chaotic. I'm just going to be honest. Can we be honest and real today
Absolutely.
on the
Please do.
live? Okay, so it's extremely chaotic. It's extremely unpredictable. Um, so I work at New York Presbyterian. I can say that in that hospital system, and I work in their float pool. So if anyone doesn't know what a float pool is, based off of your previous experience, they place you in what we call a float pool. So you go wherever there is a need in the hospital. So one day, like a few weeks ago, I was working in the emergency room. I've never worked in the emergency room. And then the next day I can work in the psych ward. And then the next day I can work in labor and delivery. So it just kind of depends on, based off your experience, wherever there's a need, you go. So a typical day, I guess, comprises of just me going into the hospital, of course, getting my assignment. Once I figure out where I'm going for the day, I go to the unit, I get a report. Like we do assessment, evaluations, we speak to the primary care team. So whatever the doctors are on board, we speak to them and we kind of just follow through whatever is going on with the patient at that time. So with everything that's going on right now with the pandemic, patients, you can get report and they'll tell you a patient this is X is going on with them. But then when you go into the room or you go assess the patient, it's completely different. Orders are changing, things are changing constantly, hourly, I want to say. So it's extremely, like, you have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible, you have to be a team player, you have to be able to critically think. So all of these things are coming into play with what's going on right now.
Wow. I can only imagine what it's like not knowing what you're going to be doing the day of, and then you just show up and trying to figure out where you're even about to be. So
Right.
that's stressful in itself. So we've been hearing a lot on the news about having the personal protective equipment or PPE. What does your PPE look like? What is like on a day-to-day basis, and do you feel like you're adequately prepared and safe?
Okay, so it's a multi-part question. So, do I feel safe at my hospital where I'm at? I can only speak for myself, because I know everybody has different experiences. I do feel safe. I can honestly say I feel safe. Um, the chief nursing officer, so let me break it down. So we get emails throughout the day before everything got to where it is right now. We were getting emails. We were being constantly updated about different changes, different policies, procedures that were going on. And they told us, like, this is what we're doing. This is a plan for today. Literally it was changing so quickly. So we were being updated really well. Also at the hospital, we have daily briefings. So at 11 a.m., maybe the chief nursing officer or other higher ups or doctors will come on and they'll give us a briefing on what's going on in the hospital, not only at New York Presbyterian, but also in New York City, also nationwide, also worldwide. So we were being updated frequently throughout the day. So in that sense, I do feel like we were very informed about what was going on. Nothing was kept in the dark. So I know, and I understand that is my experience. That may not be everyone else's experience, but that was my experience, and I'm grateful for that. As far as the PPE is concerned, so right now we are able to, how can I say it? So when we go into a room, a patient that is COVID positive, we wear multiple masks. We wear N95 mask, which is a specialty mask. We can touch on that later. We also wear a surgical mask on top of our N95. And after that, we wear a face shield. In addition to that, we also wear gowns. We would like disposable gowns and also shoe covers. So as far as like that changing, nothing has changed. I don't ever go into work feeling like, oh, will I have a mask or will I have a gown or anything like that. I've been blessed enough to work somewhere where we do have supplies. But the thing that I kind of makes me nervous is how much it's being rationed. So usually if a patient is on isolation, whether it be airborne or droplet, there are isolation carts that are outside of the room. And in the isolation carts, you have gowns, you have gloves, you have masks, like you are fully equipped to go into the room before you walk in. Now you go into the hospital, you may see an isolation cart there, but it may only have gloves and gowns there. So the hot commodity right now, we all know, are these masks, these N95 masks. And the masks right now are being kept in a secure area. They're, it may be in a medication room or maybe behind the nursing station or even in our director's office. And that would never be the case before Corona. These are things that, like, how you're like nurses, doctors, we go through so many pairs of gloves a day. We go through so many like different supplies a day. And these things are readily available to us. But I feel like now it's like, okay, how many N95 did you take? Or how many, like they're literally counting and like signing out supplies. And that would have never been the case. So that's the only thing that's making me like, okay, what's going on here? But other than that, I do feel like I don't reuse the same N95 mask. I don't reuse the same surgical mask. Every time I go into work, we are handed certain supplies. Some we can dispose of, some we have to just wipe down with our sanitizer wipes, which are medical grade. But I feel safe when I go to work. When I go into the patient's room, I feel like I can take care of them and still, not put my health at risk.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yes, I see Becky wrote, before we ran through PPE like water. Definitely.
Yeah, like that was something I think in residency, it was nothing like, oh, we're going into a patient, because we were at the county hospital where we trained in residency. Even though we were well stocked, because sometimes we would see a little bit of anything, TB patients, all of that. So we were well stocked, but now it's like I haven't been fitted for N95 for it. I work in the clinic, so my risk is lower, but even still, I haven't been fitted yet for a mask. So
Yeah.
So Chrystal, in regards to the patients, the COVID-19 patients, what type of symptoms are they presenting with in your hospital that you come into contact with?
I think what's interesting is like when you watch the news, they'll tell you like, if you have a cough, if you have a fever, if you have chills, if you have like they'll name certain symptoms, then you need to go see a medical professional or you need to quarantine. But I feel like honestly, we have patients that present with no pre-existing conditions, no fever, no cough, that tested positive, that just have chills, that just don't feel right today, you know? Or we may have patients that have all the like classic or, you know, like the classic symptoms of COVID that test positive. Honestly, I feel like depending on the patient, it presents differently in everyone. There's no true like set of symptoms that you can say, oh, like this patient has COVID or this patient has it. It looks different in every patient, every background, every, you know, like honestly, I've taken care of patients that are in their 70s and 80s. And then I've also taken patients that are my age, you know, 30. I was about to say 30s, but in your 30 and also in their like 20s. I took care of a positive COVID patient that was 24 years old. This, you know, young man had no pre-existing conditions. You know, he just had shortness of breath, no fever, no chills. He didn't have any recent travel, you know, like all of those things that we would like screen patients for, he didn't have. And, but here he goes, statting 88% or 85% or having trouble breathing, all of these things that like this boy was just playing outside with his friends the day before and his mom is like worried and like what's going on. So I've seen so many different presentations of this virus, to be completely honest. That's pretty much the only way I can know how to answer that. It's different in everyone. It presents differently in every patient.
Right, right. I think that's why it's so important that even still that we're following those CDC guidelines of if you can stay home, if you're a non-essential worker, because you may not know if you're carrying the virus and you pass it along. You could be young and healthy and pass it along to somebody that's more susceptible. And it could, as you said, it could be something mild. Like just today, I just have these chills that I can't get rid of. But here
Right.
you are going to the hangout spot just to chill with your friends, and then you
Right.
pass it on, and they take it back to me, my their grandma. You know, so it's
Exactly.
really important. Just stay where y'all are. Stay at home. Definitely.
We had one person who just wrote for us to give a definition for the acronyms we were using. So
Oh, sorry
PPE,
guys. It's so natural to just roll off the tongue.
right?
Yeah.
So PPE is personal protective equipment, and COVID or COVID-19 is the coronavirus disease. 19 stands for the year 2019, which this disease was first identified. So if you have any more questions about the acronyms, just shoot us a text down below and we'll try to give you an update on that.
Thank you, Dr.
And
Gilbert.
we're going to answer questions live here, but if y'all do need more information or even if you want to share it, go to our YouTube page. Our first video that we actually did, we did like a PSA on COVID-19. This was about 3 to 4 weeks ago. So definitely share that with your family and your friends, and we definitely have some useful information in that.
And Bree just asked a question. No,
Hey, Bree.
was no taste, no smell. Is that a part of the constellation of symptoms? From what I've seen, yes, that has been added to some of the symptoms that we look for. But just like Nurse Chrystal said, people can present with many symptoms or no symptoms at all. So
Right.
just be aware of that.
Thanks for your question, Bree.
Yeah, keep those questions coming in. We love an interactive audience. So. All right, so we're going to shift gears a little bit here, okay? Because this is marriage, ministry, medicine. And we did the medicine part. Let's do a little bit of the ministry and faith-based part. So spiritually, during this season of COVID, you being there in New York, kind of the professional shift, spiritually, how have you been able to like remain grounded or encourage yourself through this?
I have so many different things I do to kind of keep sane, to be honest. I think the main thing is just kind of finding a good support system. Like I told you all earlier, I am from Houston. All of my family is in Houston. I don't have any family in New York. And anybody close to me or close to my family knows, like, I come from a big family. I'm the third of six. And so family is extremely big to me. Like, it's been hard, one, being in a new city already and learning how to adjust and get acclimated. But I think just staying in communication with your loved ones, staying in communication with your friends, prayer. I don't know, like, I talk to God frequently. I talk to God when I wake up, when I get in the shower, before I walk into that hospital, before I get report, when I leave the hospital. I'm just asking God to, like, just prepare my day when I go in and when I come out. Hopefully I did something that helped someone's day, hopefully I was a vessel for your work in some degree. So just staying prayerful, meditating. Sometimes I've been working on meditation. It's hard to kind of silence your thoughts sometimes, but that helps to kind of just cut off everything. A big thing too, how can I say, like, cut off social media, learning how to, like, disconnect digitally, like cut off the news. Sometimes the news is extremely overwhelming, especially like watching the local news here in New York. It's like, wait, what is going on? What am I about to walk into? Watching CNN, I do feel like it's a bit much. It's a lot. Like, I understand, like, we want people to take this seriously, but sometimes the tactics I feel like the news or the media uses to portray this virus is a bit much sometimes. So I think sometimes shutting off everything. I'm a big journaler too. I like to write down my thoughts. I like to just kind of get everything out, playing music, a little bit of online shopping.
That's fine.
I'm guilty of it too, but that helps. So just talking to people. I love to FaceTime friends and family. Like, I can't touch you, I can't be around you, but just what we're doing right now, like, I love talking to you all. Like, I love what we're doing, just sitting down, getting back to the basics. I feel like is what has been keeping me sane, and like cutting it, just learning how to interact in a different way again, and not texting and not doing. So I think all of that has helped me, like, mentally, spiritually. Like, my mom is anybody that knows my mom, I'm like laughing thinking about her right now. My mom Patricia is a prayer warrior. Okay. So as soon as she found out, like, the pandemic or everything was coming to New York, she was like, oh my, like, she just was crazy and just praying and calling me and sending me scriptures. One scripture particularly she sent me was Psalm 27. And it just talks about, like, God being your light, and when you have God, or he's by your side, you do not have to fear. You do not walk in fear. You do not, like, you don't have to be afraid, that he already knows your next step. He knows tomorrow. He knows the following day. And just, like, I'm not going to act like I'm not human. I don't get scared when I go to work sometimes. Like, I didn't think, okay, I signed up to be a travel nurse. I want to see the city. I want to go do this and do that. And you think about all these things. I didn't know that I was about to be working in a pandemic, y'all. Like, but this is the cards I've been dealt. And I just feel like, I don't know why, but I'm going to make the best of this situation. I'm going to learn the most I can. And I'm going to take the most from this as well. So, sorry, a little winded, but
no, that was fine. I enjoyed that. First of all, shout out to Mommy's Weibo. Love her dearly. She housed me many a times when I was interviewing for residency coming out here.
She always asks about you too, Amanda. She's so proud of you.
Mommy's Weibo. And when you had mentioned something, I remember when you moved, you told me that you were moving out there to New York, and I was happy for you, but I was also very sad to see you leave Houston. And I was just thinking about that today as we were preparing, like, oh, I'm so excited to talk with Chrystal about her experience. I'm glad that my friend is safe. And it just dropped on my, I pray for, my friends, all of us that who are in healthcare. And it just dropped in my heart that, God knew that this was going to happen, and he divinely sent you to be a blessing to all those patients, everybody that you've touched, that you've encountered. It was not by happenstance, and that you were sent there divinely to be a blessing to somebody. And to hear, just even still, like sometimes I think that God takes us through certain situations just to grow us in our faith.
Yeah.
And
Because,
it's just
girl,
a blessing. It's just a blessing. You know, I remember, so side note, Chrystal and I share the same birthday month in December, and all those things that we talked about and what we're going to do for our 30th year and being on, and how like nothing is lost. And even in COVID, and this is for even people out here that are just listening, even through this season, God can still grow you, stretch you, increase you. So just never, nothing is going to be lost in this season. So
Aww.
that was my little
Thank
long-winded
you.
tangent.
I needed that. I needed that. It's been
I
tough,
got
y'all.
I got a question, Chrystal. So how is it
What's up?
just right now in New York? So
How
the
was it?
streets
What?
are, how is it living in New York? The streets are empty. Stores are closed down. How is it living in New York right now?
So anybody that knows about New York City, y'all know it's the city that never sleeps, right?
Right.
So no matter if you come home 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., there are people on the street. It is literally like, I wish I could take my phone out and walk to the street, y'all, so y'all can see. It's like a ghost town. It's different. It's weird. It's like, is this really happening? Like, you walk into the street, most people are wearing masks by the grace of God, but there are some people that are just kind of walking around. It's it's I can't even put it into words. I just never seen it like this ever. And I think this is calling us to be it's just teaching us different things, to slow down, not move as fast, in a city where everybody is on the go. Like, I always say, like, I swear people move so fast here. When I go back home or when I visit family, I'm just like, oh my gosh, finally. And we're on the same, we all get the same 24 hours, but this is causing a city that is constantly on the move to slow down. And it's different. I hope it does not stay. I don't know like how long this is going to happen or how long this is going to be the current, like our reality. But I just I don't know. I'm praying that everything goes back to normal soon. That the city is revived, that everybody, that we can get back to normal soon.
Yeah.
But it's definitely different than how it usually is. It's a different tone, a different climate right now.
Definitely, definitely. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump into some of these questions. So if you all can just put the questions, this is our first time going live, so bear with us here. I'm going to see how this little question button app works, and then we'll kind of go from there to choose a question. We're going to the store. Okay, here we go. So we have a question here. Do you recommend people wait longer than 14 days after recovering from the virus before, I think the rest of it was going to the store?
This is Carmen.
Yes, this is Carmen. Hey, Carmen.
Hey, Carmen girl.
So you want to take that?
Are the doctors going to answer this question? I think this is good for y'all.
Answer that question.
So the recommendation is 14 days. So we are pretty certain, the scientists are pretty certain, doctors are pretty certain that if you quarantine yourself for 14 days, that you are at less risk of passing the disease to other people. So I don't recommend longer than 14 days. A lot of my patients, I have them come back and see me day 14 or 15, and I'm writing them notes so they can return back to work or they can end their quarantine.
And so even then, it's just if they're still having, sometimes people will still end up having like the cough, almost like a bronchitis cough. So they just recommend that you continue to wear a mask, not to spread it. So if you just accidentally cough and don't have your mouth covered, you don't spread it. Okay. I did see a question that wanted to address like the health disparities that we're seeing. Chrystal, are you seeing that with amongst your patients, like more brown and black patients being diagnosed with COVID?
To be completely honest, I've seen everything. I can't say I've only had Black patients or African American patients. I can't say I only had Hispanic patients. I've had everything. Every background, every age. So I can't definitively say like this is only affecting this group. I know, of course, whenever something happens, right, negatively, whether it be like we're going to be affected differently, right? So I understand that a virus has taken place and all of these things are coming into play, but there are so many disparities that were already placed in front of us are already notable. Like we do have things like diabetes, we do have hypertension, and maybe kidney disease, all these other things that are coming into light. And like I wanted to say too, it's I know I have a lot of patients that are coming in for COVID symptoms, but also are newly diagnosed kidney patients, right? Or hypertension patients or diabetes patients. Like they didn't know any of these were taking place, right? So I think this is also bringing light to other issues that we may need to talk about a little bit later in this live, that I wanted to absolutely touch on, as far as like my people, and what I have seen and what I want you all to know, no matter what age. I know there are different people that are logged in right now or different ages, but we just need to honestly take better care of ourselves. I am guilty of it. I'll be the first one to say I don't always eat the best. I don't exercise as much as I should. And this is actually putting a lot of things in perspective for me. I've seen patients that are even younger than me that are sick. And there are things that we can do every day, whether it be taking your vitamins or working out or eating better, or, like everything as far as health is concerned is mind, body, and soul connected. Everything is together, So I think this is actually bringing light, and I hope in the grand scheme of things that we can become a healthier country because of what's going on right now. People were not washing their hands as much as they were doing before. They're doing it now. People were not as actively a part of their like health. They will only go to the doctor when something was wrong. I have plenty of friends that have not even did like an annual well woman's visit, or like it's just a lot of things that we can control that we don't, or we feel like, oh, I'll get to it. And that's not the type of like mindset to have, especially now, so
Definitely. I think as primary care doctors, for me at least, that was one of the draws that led me to family medicine and primary care. Because before we can talk about a lot of these, conditions, comorbidities, we have to talk about the everyday things that we're doing. Are we exercising? Are we
yeah,
watching our diet? Are we controlling the salt? If you know you have hypertension, diabetes in your family, that doesn't have to be your story.
exactly. And I
And
think
it
that's what
actually
frustrates
starts,
me.
like all the research is showing that it starts when we're in our like mid 20s.
Yep.
It's not something that just like, oh, we're 40, 50, and all of a sudden the sugar's upon us. No, like we started these lifestyle habits
Yep.
many years ago, and it's good that we can start addressing them now. Okay, so we do have a few other questions. I'm gonna
Bree
go to
said diet, diet, diet. Yes, girl.
yes. Okay. Surviving. Okay, we answered the question. Let's see, this is a medical one. Can COVID-19 survive in your hair? I'm a nervous wreck and wash it every time I go to the grocery store. An answer. So, in terms of can it survive in our hair, things like that, if someone were to cough in your hair at the grocery store, and you were concerned, then sure. But we actually got a question. One of our dear lines, our line sister, Shalise, she sent in a question earlier today asking, for us to clarify that the virus is not airborne. So if you're out, just out and about at the grocery store and things like that, and the virus is not going to, that's not one way where it can find you. I have to tell this funny story. My mom's probably going to kill me. So this is a part about how we were talking about cutting out the 24-hour news cycle. And this was like the first couple of weeks of the pandemic. My mom was saying how she was like, I was watching the news so much. I had a dream that the coronavirus was coming in through my bonnet if your bonnet didn't stay on your head. And so she's like, that's when I knew I was cutting out the news. I wasn't going to watch it that much. She's like, because my bonnet
Not
don't
the
stay on
bonnet
at night.
though.
Hopefully she doesn't kill me for saying this, but no, like you're fine. Like if you were go out, to the store, just make sure again, like Harris Health here in Texas, here in Houston, Harris Health has mandated now that we wear our masks, and you can get fined if you do not have a mask on. So make sure just you have your mask on when you're going. So that can be cloth as well. It doesn't always have to, it doesn't have to be the N95. It doesn't have to be the surgical. You can have a cloth mask. We actually have, again, check out our YouTube videos because we answered a lot of these questions there and you can share them. We talked about the different types of masks and the things that you can do to protect yourself, like going to the grocery store. Okay.
What else?
So this
Look
would be
at
a question
Clip.
for you from Tammy. What are some of the key things some people can do if you were to get COVID-19 to recover?
So that's a great question. I think Nurse Chrystal made a good point that different people are affected differently. So you respond differently to COVID-19. I know some people who they didn't require any hospitalization. They were able just to stay at home and treat themselves at home. And then I've also heard of stories of young people and older people who had to be hospitalized who are now in rehab. They're trying to rehab from COVID-19 infection. So it's different for different people. I would say that. I don't think there's one strategy that fits all in terms of recovery. It depends on your individual situation.
Yeah, and just kind of to add on to that, as far as recovery is concerned, if you don't have to be hospitalized, like if you don't have to go into the hospital, you don't have to be admitted, I want you to kind of like, the ER, urgent care are environments that are set up if you can no longer manage your symptoms at home, right? So you do not want to go there just because you have an itchy throat or because you got a little cough or because like you check your temperature today and it's 100.1, right? So you want to make sure you exhaust all resources before you go into those environments because those are high risk environments, right? So if like certain things you can do, of course, increasing your fluids, right? So hydration, making sure you have a diet or you're taking things that can kind of help whatever is going on at the time, like anything that can kind of boost your immune system. You want to make sure that you incorporate that into your diet, into your everyday life. Of course, practicing social distancing if you live with people or just kind of staying away from people that can put you at risk. Washing your hands. I cannot stress this enough. Clorox wipes. I know there may be it's hard to come across them right now, but just kind of making sure you're wiping down things. You're not sharing utensils, not sharing cups. Like there's so many different things that you can do to kind of like make sure you are your healthiest. It's not, there's so much that is out there that we don't know about yet. So just managing your symptoms, whether it be a cough, whether it be a headache, taking Tylenol, just different things that you can put in place to make sure that you're on that road to a speedy recovery. If you no longer can manage your symptoms, then I would promote you, like I would tell you or encourage you to go see a medical professional. So that's pretty much my take on it.
So I think that's one of the things too with us, our clinics, thank goodness, we're up and running for virtual visits, so telemedicine. And so there have been a lot, I have a list of patients who are, not sick enough, their symptoms are controlled right now.
Exactly.
Who have been tested positive COVID through the county. But right now we're just monitoring them and we have a system in place where every couple of days we call, we check up on them, we give them what we call the emergency room precautions. Like if things should worsen, then you need to go to the emergency room.
Exactly.
Otherwise, as we talk about the supportive care for the virus. So, if it's a matter of you're at home, you're not having significant short of breath, your fever is being controlled with Tylenol over the counter medicines, you can sit at home and quarantine away from your family. So that's going to be the best option for you then. Before we move in, I do need to give a shout out to a couple of people here. Sora Linda Coles from Chicago. It's been a mentor of mine for many, many years. And we see she's on here and just say hello to her. And then, of course, all of Alpha Chapter from Howard, all of our Howard friends. Thank you all for tuning in as well. And my grad chapter of Tau Zeta Omega. Zaidu Omega here as well. I have to give all the shout outs to the sorors, of course, before we go forward with that. So, and if we don't have any other questions, we're going to go ahead and get you on your way because I know you got to work.
Amanda and Lewis, do y'all see this comment section? They're cutting up right now.
I do see it. And that's okay. Because I know how Alpha Chapter. All right. Everybody talking about Delta Z. Shout out Delta Z. Here you go.
No, Carmen I think we have someone here by the name of Carmen that's in the building that is making some comments that are very interesting, but we may get to those later.
Oh, Tammy, we missed one. We'll take your question. I do have some. Actually, I skipped a whole lot of questions. Tammy, what is your question, girl? I don't see it in the box here. Oh, okay. Tammy, what's your question, love? I had a question in this. So we've been, like I said, this is our first time going live, and so we're using a little question box. Someone said dating in the corona. What's the real deal? I guess we are married.
Well,
Do you stop dating in the coronavirus? Probably just make FaceTime dates. That would be my recommendation. FaceTime dates. Okay, Tammy, if I don't get this, scroll up, girl. It's so much going on in here. Let's see. What are some of the, let us know how the D's. Okay, we talked about that, Tammy. What are some of the things that we can do to,
Lauren, you can put your question here.
What are some of the key things we do in order to recover? So we talked about that, what we can do to recover. Okay, we're going to need you to either retype it because I've lost it in the midst of the other questions there. What about potential vaccines? What do you think about that, Louis, Chrystal?
Oh.
What you got, Chrystal?
I don't see us coming out with a vaccine until probably next year. Like from what I know, vaccines take about 1 to 3 years, or 2 to 3 years to even
the minimum. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't know, y'all.
Yeah.
So I have no problem saying I do not know. So what do y'all think?
So it would be great to have a vaccine. We know the benefits of vaccines, but as stated, it takes a while to develop a vaccine and develop it safely. And so you don't want to rush through that process and give somebody something that could potentially harm them because your body is mounting an immune response to the vaccine. And so you want to make sure that it doesn't do more harm than good when we start to administer it. So I don't see one coming out at least to 2021. I've heard scientists talk about how they're rushing a vaccine, but I'm not comfortable with rushing something that could potentially do more harm than good.
It looks like Shorty by Nature said 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, that's our resident public health guru, Shalise. That the World Health Organization, just as Louis has said, is thinking about 12 to 18 months is their time frame. So that will put us into next year. So we'll see. Tammy, I did see your question. What are some of the symptoms or signs that people can see if they did have corona and see that it is improving? From the patients that I have seen or some from the research that we're seeing, let's say if you did start off, some of the might be like a really intense headache, because the virus can have like that effect there. They may notice like, oh, you know, my headache is now improving with Tylenol. Before it wouldn't do anything. Or they're noticing that fever curve, and that's basically just tracking their temperature, that it's getting better. Usually once we're about like 3 to 4 days out from having a fever and it's like without having to take any medications, that's a good sign. I did have a patient, very young, healthy gentleman in his 30s. And one thing is we were talking about like his recovery process when we were doing our check-ins. He was like, yeah, you know what, I did notice that before I wasn't able to get up the flight of stairs to, you know, go out when I was going up to my apartment. But today I was able to take the stairs. Now he's like an avid jogger. So for him to even be able to say he got that far. So that was good. Like to see slowly but surely your activity level will improve. All right, let's see. We have a couple more questions in the box, and then we're going to let Chrystal go because I think she got to work tomorrow, so we'll see. We got to work tomorrow too, so we'll see. Okay. They have so yeah, we had a question about testing there in Atlanta, that they do have some spots, and I think we can just generally talk about this, about testing in general. We are slowly but surely, we're here right outside of Houston, and our clinics are in Pearland and Pasadena and Friendswood, out that way. Y'all are familiar. We're still having an issue with getting access to tests. And we're over a month into this pandemic. And so, like, for instance, I have not even seen or held a test in my hand because our clinic has not had enough to receive them. So we are stockpiling our tests for our emergency rooms, and we send people there. Or now the county, Harris County, Brazoria, those, they do have testing sites available, but even then they have like a limited amount of tests that they can administer a day. So it's going to be different state to state as to what the procedures the public health counties have devised or organizations have devised. But right now, we're just really, it's for the healthcare providers, primary care overall, we're really taking this thing like a day by day. And so with that, regardless of what's being said, stay at home. That's my advice. Stay at home. Like, it's not time. I know Georgia, y'all's governor opened up the floodgates. Don't go get your hair done yet, sis. Just wait. Don't go get your nails. Just wait a little bit, because we need to figure out really what's going on. Okay. So I think that was our last question. Chrystal, we're going to let you close out with us. Do you have any words of advice, encouragement that you want to leave us with?
I would just say, oh, I didn't want it to be over yet.
Oh, well, if you got time, girl, we got time.
I'm going to say, what was your craziest shift?
Yeah, we do have one. We had another question for you. What was your craziest shift?
Okay, so I don't want to laugh about this because this is really not funny. But you know how sometimes you make jokes to make light of certain situations. But I want to say last week or the week before, I was sent to the ER to complete my shift, and I was actually there for a few days. So when I walked in, you know, I don't get my assignment until I get into the hospital. So I go to the nursing office, and she's like, we're actually going to send you to the ED today. And I was like, wait, hold on. Wait, what? I've never worked in an emergency room. She's like, well, they're really short. You know, only 2 nurses came in today. Everyone else either called out or they're sick, or, you know, like it was just one of those situations. So I'm like, okay, I can do it. I can do it. Chrystal, you can do it. You know, you kind of do that little self-talk before you walk in. So I go in, and walking into the emergency room, like, well, they give you all your supplies, like your mask and everything, before you walk in. So I get all my supplies, and she's like, okay, well, I'm going to walk you to the ED. As I'm walking to the ED, I see patients in the hallway, and I'm like, wait, what are they doing? You know, like I just see them having patients and the nurses triaging them in the hallway. And this is what would never, ever happen. I see the emergency room is packed. I see the hallways are filled with patients. They made like these little makeshift like rooms that are housing patients. And so I'm like, okay, today's going to be interesting. I get there, and immediately, of course, we have like the badges that say nurse on them. And so I go in, and they're like, you know, bed two. And I'm like, okay, I'll look at bed 2, and he's intubated, clearly in distress, like numbers are going down. And the nurse is like, get the crash cart. Mind you, I just clocked in. So I run and get the crash cart, you know, like I gown up everything, and I run to the patient, and we immediately start doing CPR, right? So the doctor, anesthesiologist comes, and like the ED docs come, of course, and literally different rooms they all kind of look like this, but this is the first patient, of course, the beginning of the shift, that is crashing, declining right in front of us. And so we start doing CPR. Of course, we have somebody that's taking notes of everything that's going on. The doctor, of course, is pushing all the emergency meds. Like everything is happening simultaneously, like very fast. And, you know, we did 3 rounds of CPR, and the doctor was just looking at us. He said, okay, is everybody okay with me calling it? And I was just like, everybody was just like, you know, we just knew there was no way we were coming back from that. And I don't know, I don't want to get like emotional or anything, but, you know, I think with nursing or working in medicine, we are exposed to a lot, and you try to like keep faith, or you try to like remain positive. But at that time, it's like, you know, there's only so much you can do in a period. And I was telling people this is just like literally multiple times throughout that shift, we were literally calling like times of death throughout the day. And it was just like, okay, do we have enough post-mortem kits? Do we have enough, like, literally preparing the bodies? And you want to spend time, like, we could have did a few more rounds in that patient, or maybe, you know, like, there's a part of you that's like, oh, we could have saved him, or we could have did this. But literally, like, okay, we're going to spend so much time on patient A when patient B can barely breathe, and this person is like bleeding, and this, you know, it's like, it's so many things that are going on, that, you know, like, I don't know. It's crazy. I just honestly had to just pray for the patient. And I was telling someone, it's just like, I just hope he had a good life. Like, we're prepping these bodies and we're literally putting them in body bags throughout the shift. And, you know, I don't think people see that side of it as well. It's just like, this virus is crazy. Like, it's taking lives, like, drastically, like, quickly. And, you know, people are at their wits' end. We're short-staffed. The doctors, ER doctors, they are used to high-stress environments, right? When you see them, like, okay, what, you know, like, they're forensic, it kind of makes you feel like, okay. Even some nurses said this is worse than 9/11, you know, like in New York City, like what we're seeing now, this is worse than 9/11. And to be in that environment 2-3 shifts in a row it was emotionally draining. It was mentally draining. It's like, this is not fair. This is someone's grandfather. This is someone's grandmother. This is someone's son. And another thing I don't feel like people know is that, you know, visitation was cut out completely. As soon as all of this stuff happened, family members were not able to see their family members. Like, your grandma is dying alone on the side. So of course, like, our phones are ringing off the hook, and people are like, okay, can you at least FaceTime me? I just want her to, like, hear my voice, you know? So we're of course calling the chaplains, and like, usually those moments we're able to discharge them and they're able to, like, go and, like, pass in peace, maybe at their home or apartment or whatever. But in this situation, patients are dying alone, and it's hard to see, like, they're calling every hour, like, how's my mom doing, how's my grandma doing, how's my uncle doing, you know? And it's only so much you can tell them, like, they're stable or no changes, or like, you're being very brief. And usually in other circumstances pre-Rona, this would have never been the conversation. Like, it's hard to see up close in real time. I know everybody is seeing things from the news and, like, oh, it's crazy, but New York is on a different level. And that ER experience, I've been a nurse for 7 or 8 years. That is not the first body I had to prepare or get ready for the morgue, but putting tags on their toes and on their fingers, and, like, notifying family, and, like, them not having anybody there. That's, like, probably, like I said, I've been a nurse almost 8 years. That has been the most, I don't know, just telling experience I've had. Like, I had to go home that day and I was like, okay, what was that? Like, what happened? What happened today? Like, literally, like, okay, call my mom, call my sister, call, you know, like, girl, let me tell you what happened. Like, this was crazy. This was crazy. And they're making tents or these trailers that are keeping these bodies because the morgue is at capacity. You know, that's a real thing. That's not something the news is making up or people are exaggerating. You know, we can hop on the live tomorrow. I can show y'all what it looks like, you know, or Wednesday when I go back to work. But, like, it's a real thing. Like, that's actually happening. So something I just want to, like, share with people is just, like, don't take life for granted. I can't stress that enough. You're breathing, you're able to talk, you're able to see, you're able to, like, get up and do things on your own. That's a blessing. And that's a blessing. You know, you're able to, just so many things we take for granted. I just want us to, like, just have a different appreciation for life. Check on your family, check on your friends, be proactive in your health and wellness and whatever it may be. Just take time to reflect and get yourself together, because life is not promised. That patient, you know, I talked to their family members. He was always chatting. He was always doing this. He was all, you know, like, literally days ago. And then now this person, I'm preparing them to go to the morgue. So life is crazy. Like my mom always says everything in life good and the bad is temporary. This too shall pass, you know. But what are we going to learn from it? What is the takeaway? How are we going to position ourselves so next time this comes, because the pandemic will come again, what are we going to do to make sure we're better prepared, you know, for, you know, what's to come, to better treat our patients, to be more educated, to put more information out there, to have more resources. So that's all I have to say. And I just want everybody, thank you for everybody that kind of tuned in tonight. You know, you can't, of course, I can't, there's some days that I'm like, I go home and I'm like, was I a good nurse today? Did I do the most I could do? And it feels like it's not enough, you know, but all I can say is that I'm going to try my best. Dr. Gilbert's, I want us to try our best. I know it's very hard. There are a lot of things that people do not see on our side, but we just have to give the best treatment we can, or give the best care we can for our patients, be their biggest advocate, make sure we're educating them, making sure, you know, we're doing our part. Like, if you can spend 2 minutes with that patient, just holding their hand, you know, like how many people they, you know, like just a single touch, like mothers, that's how they bond with their babies, is by touch. So just by holding a patient's hand, or telling them, oh, I talked to your daughter, at least, you know, like whatever, you know, I talked to your daughter today, she's just checking on you. That's all they want. That's all these patients want. They don't want to be left alone. So the 12, 13, 14 hours I'm there, I just want to make sure that I do the best that I can, that I make them feel comfortable, that I make, even if they are passing, that when they leave out, that they are comfortable, that they are surrounded by love or care or whatever. There's power in what we do. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, you know, I thank you for your vulnerability. So I think too, with being, when we're in the medical profession as nurses, as physicians, sometimes we do get that, what I call like the super power, or, you know, that we just feel like we are invincible and we have to
Right.
put on
We
this
try to play
front.
God and try to do all of this stuff. It's like, no,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah,
bigger
that
plan at hand.
superwoman. Yeah, that superwoman mentality. Like, we have it all together.
Yeah.
But there are times too, like, listen, been there where I closed my little office door and have wept during this pandemic. Because
Yeah.
it's like, what I call Lewis in the middle of the lunch, I'm like, it's just one of them days. Like, so I thank you for your vulnerability. And even I saw some comments that we were talking about the mental health impact, like outside of, even if those who are not affected in their physical health, the mental health aspect that we need to make sure as a community too, that we're kind of thinking about the trauma that this will have and how are we going to prepare. So you all stay tuned, because eventually we do want to address that even more. We have addressed that in some of our videos in the past, but we want to make sure that this is a space of healing too for us. And so that we can actually connect you all towards resources so that we can all, you know, progress through this.
Yeah.
So.
And the hospital has provided some therapists to be on site. I will say that. Shout out to New York Presbyterian, because they know, like, if you need to step away for a second and you need to talk to someone, they're there. Like, I posted on my Insta story the other day, just like all the notes and the letters. And we've been having so many businesses and restaurants in the community donate lunches. You know, like as a nurse, it's like you're on your feet 24/7. Sometimes we don't get lunch. Sometimes we don't even have time to go to the bathroom. You know, so many things are happening. It's just like, to get that support from the community, I think is big. We have breakfast there. We have lunch there, dinner there. There are so many people that are there that are, you know, like, even all hands on deck is still, it's still rough, but the support is phenomenal. The words you all are sharing is phenomenal. The, like, just checking in with people, it's needed. Like, we have to, you know, it takes a village, you know, just check on people. There's nothing wrong with, like, asking someone how they're doing. A quick text. I've had friends do that, family do that. Even if it's for 5 minutes, it's made my day. Like, people, my line sister Victoria, she sent me like this care package of all of these like energy drink, like immune booster drinks with like ginger and lemon, all this stuff. Like, that meant the world to me. My other line sister Malika brought some food. She dropped the meal off on the door. I'm gonna give her that. She put it in a little bag and dropped it off. She was like, I can't, you know, I don't know what you've been exposed to, but I made some salmon and some vegetables, and like, she did all of that. And like little things like that mean the world to me. People that have texted me from back home, or like, I just feel like this is a time we just need to look out for each other. I know it's corny. I see it on the news all the time. They're like, what is it saying? What is it?
Together apart, is that what they've been saying?
Something like that. Well, we all just need to be, like, we're all going through this. We all have each other.
Oh yeah, alone together. Is that it?
Something like that. Y'all know, it's a little corny,
like
but it's true. Like, this is a time to like lean on each other. Like, and I have no problem saying like work was terrible today. Like, some days I love being a nurse. Some days I hate being a nurse. Some days I'm like, like I can be honest and say like, I can say that like I loved what happened today. I feel fulfilled when I went into work. And there's some days it's just like, okay, what am I supposed to do with 8 patients and I don't have enough supplies. I don't have enough this, and this patient is, crashing on me. And, like, I can be honest, let's be honest and like allow ourselves to feel, allow ourselves to like just experience what's going on right now. This is something we're going to be able to talk about with our kids, our grandkids, So it's beauty in it. It's terrible. I'm not trying to make light of what's going on, but I think this is a great time for us to put a lot in perspective.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that we're able to save this live, and I'm not sure exactly how long we have on here that we can save it. So we're going to go ahead and close out. But before we close, do you mind praying for us? We've been getting a lot of people in the comments, especially I saw First Lady of my home church, Sister Mara, saying that praying for you, Chrystal, praying for all of those that are on the front lines, all of our healthcare workers. So do you mind closing out?
I just want to take this time to give a special thanks to Chrystal, Nurse Chrystal, for
taking out of her. I love y'all.
You have truly inspired me with the resilience that you have and doing the job and the work that you're doing. So I'm so proud that I can call you a sister. I'm so proud.
Walla was trying to make me cry, y'all. Like,
I always wanted like my line sister, my husband. So much.
No, but that's from the heart.
I cannot wait to come to y'all house. I'm so ready to get a break after everything ends. A nice little vacay.
Absolutely. So nurses like you're superheroes to us, and so we just appreciate everything that you're doing. And honestly, we can't wait to get you back down here to Houston so we can build that practice.
Come on back.
So I see we have a minute left, so I'm just going to pray real quick. Gracious Father, we thank you for this time that you have allowed us to share with each other. Lord, we thank you for Chrystal. Lord, we ask that you protect her, that you keep her, both body, mind, and spirit. Lord, all of the nurses, all of the healthcare professionals, everybody, Lord, under the sound of my voice, we ask that your blessings and your protection be upon them. Strengthen us and keep us, Lord, during this time. We pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Love y'all. Love you, Chrystal. We'll see you
later.
Love y'all too. Stay safe out there. Bye.
Bye.